I hate introductions, don't you? But it seems like they're always necessary. So here goes. I'm Ashley. I'm a wife, mom, pastor, and missionary's kid, which is double trouble if you didn't know. And if you're in this space, we're here to learn about who God is, who we are in Him, and how to do faith in the real, meaning the real messy. Hey, welcome to episode 11, Chats with Ash. I'm really glad you're here today because today we are talking about something that all of us can relate to, and that's relationships. But before we dive into that, I thought it would be fun to answer a question from the audience. So here's a fun idea. If you have a question about anything, send it to me and I'll take some time to answer it in my episodes. So here was the question asked. Do you record these podcast episodes live or do you pre-record them? I pre-record them. And my reason for doing that is that I'm not naturally a very good planner, but I made a commitment to be in this space on Tuesdays, and life happens. And I know that there are going to be times when like maybe somebody isn't feeling well or something comes up unexpectedly. And so I try to record at least 3 episodes in advance to have in a library to pull from in the event that something happens and I'm just not available to record on a Tuesday. And honestly, frankly, I want to be real with you guys here and have good discussions with you, but there are times I'm just not feeling it. And it's okay for you to see that, but I can't say that it's going to be the best episode you've ever listened to. So it's nice to record when I'm in the groove, so to speak. All right, so I talked about relationships. There's so much ground and so many things that you could talk about. Where do you start? Why not at the beginning? And we've all heard the saying, don't judge a book by its cover. That is probably the best place I can think of to start when it comes to let's look at our relationships with other people. My mom is a natural born decorator. She has this uncanny gift, and to know how to decorate, and she's so good about pulling from different areas and using different things to make the space beautiful and welcoming and cozy. And I try to learn from her because I love how well she does that. And I want our home to have that same kind of feel. So one thing that I've observed from her is that she loves to use books to decorate, to create height, all these colors, different things. And so I do that as well. And one time I was working on a bedroom and I needed like 3 books to put underneath a lamp. And I really wanted one of the books to be teal. Teal and mint green are my favorite colors. And so I went to the Dollar Tree. If you do not know this, the Dollar Tree is amazing. And one thing that I love about it is that it has a section of books for $1. A lot of them come from Target. So I went to the store this day, and lo and behold, there was the perfect hardcover teal book. And I gleefully picked it up and paid for it, took it home and started working with it. And then I paused and thought, I've never heard of this title. I don't know who this author is. I don't even know what this book is about. So maybe I should open it up and see what's inside. I very quickly realized it was a very, shall we say, adult book with some very jaw-dropping topics and things inside. Not quite what I want to have laying around when I have kids in particular. FYI, a little bit of glue goes a long way if you don't want pages to open again. But anyway, that story makes me think about, though, the importance of looking beyond a cover. And we all want that, right? I want to be known for who I am. I want to be known by my heart, not by what I look like, not by what I'm wearing, but the essence of me is inside. And the essence of everyone is inside. The Bible says that man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. And part of the process of admitting our need for Him and becoming more like Him is asking Him to give us His eyes to see beyond the surface, and eyes that are discerning and looking into the heart of others. I wonder how many relationships, beautiful relationships that we could have with others if we were willing to actually get to know them for who they are on the inside. It's funny, you can be out in public, or I can, and without even consciously realizing it, I'm making judgment calls about other people, right? I mean, part of that is just being aware. I want to be aware of who is around me. I want to be aware of potential threats, especially when I have the kids with me. But just because someone might be big and burly and tatted up doesn't mean that I'm assessing and judging that person correctly. And it's so important that we look beyond that. I have a really cool story that I want to share along these lines. And I want to protect the identity of the person that I'm talking about just out of respect for them. But this is someone that I have come to greatly respect and admire because of this story. This relationship has been in my life for quite a while, but we spent many years not actually being in relationship. And we spent a lot of time making poor assumptions and judgment calls on the other. One day, this person called me and asked to talk to me and shared that for many years, she had been holding on to some negative feelings toward me and her reasons why. That took so much courage and integrity to do that, but she also took it a step further. She was willing to listen to my heart, to let me share with her my perspective, and truly listen and consider what I was saying. She made a really interesting comment that I don't think I could word any better than she did. Because we were talking about how we all have a story we're telling ourselves. And maybe one of the most negative things we can do is dialogue for somebody else without giving them the chance to speak. And she said, all these years, I have been filling in the blanks for you. But when she gave me the chance to fill in the blanks for myself, everything changed. When I gave her a chance to fill in blanks, everything changed. And a relationship truly started growing in a totally different direction because we were willing to actually listen. Part of being a good listener is asking good questions and letting the other person speak. I mean, I think sometimes I can ask a question, but I think I already know the answer and I'm not really listening. I want to be somebody that gets to know another person's heart because I'm asking good questions that show, hey, I'm interested in you. And I don't want to carry any assumptions that I've made on my own. Why don't you help me understand you? And I'll truly listen. Sometimes we have a hard time, though, putting those assumptions down. And sometimes, even when we ask good questions, we don't necessarily find the answer. I mean, let's just be honest. Not every relationship we have has a happily ever after story. Some relationships are going to come really easily to us, and others are not. That is not always a personal thing. It's not always a vendetta against somebody else. Sometimes we just simply don't mesh well, and it's not personal. But when we don't have access to the data that we need to truly be able to understand the heart of another or see into the heart of another, I think that is when we need to be challenged to love in the way that Christ loves us. 1 Corinthians 13, is the love chapter. And there's a phrase in here that I think is so important. It's verse 7, and part of it says that love believes all things and hopes all things. When we're forced to make an assumption of someone else, are we choosing a negative assumption, or are we going to choose something that reflects grace and true love for another? I find it really hard sometimes to make good assumptions. Man, I feel awful admitting that, but I don't think I'm alone in that. Especially with people that I don't necessarily mesh with well, or people that perhaps I find difficult to relate to and have relationship with. It can be easy to interpret things that they do, or things that they don't do, or things that they say, or things that they don't say in a negative light. And I'm really challenged with that, because I hate it when people do that to me. It's like, oh, why did you make that assumption? But I often do it to others. And I need God to help me see a soul for the worth that He's given it, and to see that person as someone precious, and to do to them what I would want done to me, to hope for the best, to choose to believe the good when I don't have the information that helps me know for sure about somebody else. What are your thoughts about this? Do you struggle with any of it? What if, here's a twist. What if somebody else is assuming something negative about you? How do you respond? We can say a lot of things, but what we do ultimately will speak the loudest. And so we need to do what we can to be kind. We need to do what we can to best reflect Christ and to honor Him and to show love to others. But we're not responsible for other people's reactions, and we're not responsible for other people's assumptions. That is a hard thing to put down sometimes for some of us. I don't know, some of you might not have any issue with that, but I know for me personally, that can be really tough. I want to fix it. I want to change the way that they think. And that's not my job to do that. My job is just be kind, show love, honor and glorify God in my actions, and leave the rest up to Him. He will deal with that. And then, pray that God will help, me see the opportunities to show that love and to show that kindness. But also, I often need Him to help me just put down the worry that can come with, but they think this about me. If somebody really wants to know you and they really want to know your heart, they're going to take the time to do that. And if they're not willing to do that, there's nothing you can do about that except move forward and let that go and focus on the relationships that you do have where you're able to share hearts. Speaking back to the friend that I have that I shared her story, that is the kind of person I want to be. I want God to give me the courage and the integrity to not harbor ill feelings or negative assumptions, but like if I have a problem with someone, or if there's some sort of barrier between us, to be willing to go to them. There's a lot to be said for even just being willing to say, is there anything that we need to talk about? Or have I offended you in some way? And it's so easy to share this with you here. It's a lot harder to actually do it. There are some people in my life that I've been able to do that with. And there are some that I really struggle to do that with. And it's just a constant process of growth. But at the end of the day, let's do to others what we want done to us, and not judge books by their cover, but take the time to try to get to know people. And when someone opens that cover for you and invites you in, man, what a awesome blessing and gift that is. Treasure that and be very careful with that. Be careful with their heart and offer yours and let them see in too. And when we do that, we find beautiful relationships. Are they going to get messy at times? Yep. That's part of two sinners being in contact with each other. But with good communication, with a continual move forward to get to know the other, we can work through those hard things and really grow and strengthen our relationships with each other. And it's an all-around beautiful thing. And it's something that we definitely need Christ to be the center of. So remember, as we move forward in relationships, that when we're willing to admit we need Him, that's when we start making our stories about Him, and we can better share our stories with one another. I hope this episode has been thought-provoking for you, and I would love to know your stories or thoughts, so feel free to shoot me a message, and I will see you next time with Chats with Ash. Thanks for being here.